The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to another special edition of Soccer to the Max. We will be back tomorrow. I almost forgot, for the US Open Cup final, as well as some MLS games that are going on. LA Galaxy and now I forgot who the Galaxy are playing on the game that actually comes on before the Open Cup at 7. But we're here to talk about the US Women's National Team blanking New Zealand 5-0. Much better result from the one on Friday. Much better as far as the team performance. There's also some interesting things that's happened on today. The NASL has filed an antitrust lawsuit against USSF. So there is now that going on, and they're trying to seek a stay so that they don't get their Division II status taken away, at least for 2018, while they also get to battle and try to prove that the USSF has a sort of collusion with MLS and USL and other things that they're trying to. You know, they've already gone to FIFA trying to get FIFA to do something with USSF about not having promotion relegation, all that. This is going to be some kind of big old battle that's probably going to go on for a while, but we'll talk about that a little bit. There's also MLS wanting to change the playoffs and some potentially good or bad news for FC Kansas City. So there's that, along with the Minnesota United having a new CEO that comes from the NBA. At least it's from the Minnesota area, so that's a plus, I guess, if you're Minnesota United. And Jay Heaps has been let go, making the 5th coach in MLS that has been fired this season, and that is a record. So we will talk about that as well. So, Eric, it's only been, well, we didn't have a show on Sunday, so it's been a little while for soccer, but how are you? How are things?
I think I finally come up with a solution. I think I have it now.
What is that?
Male girls!
Well, the Ferns did not fare well at all in this matchup against the US Women's National Team. Rose Lavelle made her long-awaited return, played 30 minutes. I think she had one pass that I think made my notes, and even then I was on the phone for about 15 minutes, and I think it was in that 15-minute span that pass happened, and I didn't really get to write down what happened there. But, you know, she admitted herself that she's out of shape and a little rusty, but good to see her back.
I mean, I will say, while the U.S. did get off to like a bit of an equally slow start this time around, they really fed off of the crowd. Rose Lavelle, as you say, coming back, she had a great 30 minutes. She came off. Christy Horan came in for her, wound up scoring in literally, I'm in my room changing for the night. The U.S. scores. I pull into my driveway. I get out the car, open my gate, and as soon, not even before I get back in my car, the U.S. scored. I mean, just wow.
Yeah, you mentioned that 30 minutes, and it was at that 30-minute mark that the change happened for Lindsey Horan to come in, who had been very vital in the first game against New Zealand. New Zealand had been able to sort of just kind of ward off the U.S. coming in, pressing, getting in shots. Julie Ertz had a shot that got saved by Naylor. You had the one that went wide, very close to that. as well. Naylor had to make some saves. You had the defense having to be a bit more organized. They were that. Samantha Mewis sent a wonderful through ball in, but then the shot got saved. I mean, you had some attacks, but it wasn't anything too dangerous. I think New Zealand was able to cover for that, and of course, goalkeeper making saves. But it's just, I think that's the positive thing, right? That they were attacking. They were attacking on the wings from both wings, whether it was with Regan Rapinoe and O'Hara, or it was Short and I can't remember for the life of me the other one right now. But it's just, they were just basically, it felt like it's just constant bombardment against New Zealand, and they really, I can literally count on my hands the amount of times that they did anything in this game at all.
Well, New Zealand, that's because the male girls couldn't maintain any control. They had some moments where they could get it in the midfield, but for the longest time in the first half, the U.S. just pushed up left side, left wing, left wing, left wing, left wing, success, success, success. Then they switch it over to the right. That started creating goals, even more success. So it's, I don't know if even New Zealand had barely any possession in the attacking third.
Yeah, for the
Maybe
entire game they really didn't, but that first half, especially, they did not. That goal comes with a beautiful volley by Samantha Mewis straight to the head of Lindsey Horan, and this is sort of like that half-court three-point shot. That's what Lindsey Horan did on this header. She's literally jumps in the air over somebody and still gets it in the net. I mean, that was some fantastic play there by both.
For anybody who's a fan of the Big Three, think of it as a 4-point shot.
Yeah, that too. I guess if you want to give it that one, but it was still. They mentioned on commentary, but she made that look easy, and it's certainly not. Trying to do anything with your head on the ball is hard enough, but doing something like that is absolutely crazy. And then it wasn't too long after, about 8 minutes after, you had O'Hara get involved. She had a wonderful triangle play with Horan and Kristen Press, who was playing kind of further back. And Horan sends this great through ball to Mallory Pugh, who comes just jettisoning in on the left, I want to say, and she just strikes it right on goal. This kind of started her second half, where she was absolutely brilliant for like a 20-minute span until she got subbed off, where she was constantly bombarding them. But it was 2-0 at the half, and you thought, okay, this is a much better start from the last game. Last time New Zealand kind of got a nice 1-2 thing with that header from Wilkinson to make it 1 and make things a little interesting. But the U.S. didn't let up at all. And in fact, pretty much as soon as things started, Julie Ertz got involved. You have Mallory Pugh putting a ball into the box. The ball skips right to Alex Morgan's foot, and she just slides into that near post. Naylor again getting beat near post. For all the saves she makes, when she lets goals in, it's just so weird.
Well, that's because, and again, that shot by Morgan, Naylor was already heading toward her left, and that goal was on near post towards her right. So it's just like, well, what's the point? I can't get there now.
Yeah, but you got to guard near post. That's your job as the keeper, to take away that near post. And she didn't do that there. That was a bad decision on her part. But then she gets beat near post again later on as well. But it's just, After that, you kind of just get it kind of lulls around. Then you get that Lynn Williams counter, and she goes all the way down the flank. They block it. O'Hara gets back in with a cross, and then right to Lynn Williams' head. And that's another pretty goal from the U.S. Alex Morgan will get another goal. This is the one where she roofs it into the near post, beating Naylor this time. Later on, around like the 68th minute or so, and there's your 5-0. But yeah, Mallory Pugh looked really good in this game. She was just getting forward on the flanks, cutting in, taking shots. Taylor Smith, good to know she was okay. She was one of the subs. So after she fell awkwardly on her hip, she was okay to play in this game. Got to see Tobin Heath come in for Mallory Pugh. She did okay. Anybody? I do want to commend a lot of talk for Julie Ertz, and she did, I think, a lot of stuff that doesn't show up on the box score in this one. But Lindsey Horan was, for me, the player of the match. I know Morgan, you could give it to her for the 2 goals, and Lynn Williams did really well coming in as a sub, but Lindsey Horan was involved in the first 2 goals, scoring and then assisting, and she comes in as a sub herself, and that just completely changed the outlook for the U.S. in that first half.
Yeah, it changed their tactics, and it was really overall brilliant. And to me, between Horan's involvement on the first 2 goals and Mallory Pugh, I mean, let's face it, she didn't score herself. She was really serving it up on a plate from the left side. So, those would be my 2 real players that really stood out to me.
I thought O'Hara was much more involved in this game too than she was in the last game. Of course, she got hurt and then left, but Mallory Pugh was kind of doing the Megan Rapinoe role more so this time. And I think that's really positive for them. You want to see that involvement from her and getting it up there to the forwards. I hope this continues for the U.S. There's no Carly Lloyd. Alex Morgan is in form, which helps a ton right now. But you're getting the younger faces kind of playing more. You're seeing, Lynn Williams, who's been doing great for the North Carolina Courage and NWSL. She's getting involved. And then the defense is just rock solid. Becky Sauerbrunn made some good interceptions to prevent Wilkerson from doing anything. Del Camper as well. Just very solid, comfy performance, I guess, from the U.S.
Yeah, this is how they should have played during their last match. But they got it, and I think Jill Ellis did a lot better as far as not just tactics, but making the substitutions, again, accounting for players' minutes as they're going back to the NWSL, their playoffs coming up, and what's going to be a very interesting home-and-home series against Canada. That's going to be intriguing to see if this continues.
Yeah, they got South Korea up first, and then they've got Canada after, but yeah, that's their next 4 matches, and like you said, they do get to go to Canada for one of those. So it's not all in the U.S., but 3 out of the 4 in the U.S. Not bad for them.
The Canadian version of Jerry World, BC Place in Vancouver.
Yeah. Very true. I do again want to commend Nippert Stadium for being loud and into the game the whole time, and just
take a hint, Dawn.
Yeah, take a hint that maybe you need to be bringing in FC Cincinnati to MLS. But speaking of that, transitioning away from this game is pretty much that's really all that needs to be said. The U.S. went 5-0. I mean, there's not a lot to take from this. They're doing the things they've been doing. So they looked much better than they did in the game on Tuesday, and then the game on Tuesday the game on Friday they were still it's still a pretty comfortable win. Let's not beat around the bush on that either. So good positive things going into the next set of games against South Korea in October. But yeah, transitioning from that, the big news that came out this morning was that the NASL, who we kind of knew something was going to be up here, they weren't going to just take that, oh, we're removing your Division II status lying down. After all the stuff that they've done, go and complain to FIFA about having promotion relegation so that some of these teams can get into the MLS without having to do the franchise fee deal or MLS deciding that they want them, and then all the stuff with the Division II loss and everything else. So they filed this antitrust lawsuit stating that the MLS is basically the NASL has taken the step to protect not just the league but also the game, fans, and everyone with a stake in the future success of the professional soccer leagues based in this country. Basically the USSF had told they from 2014 on, the NASL knew that they had to have at least 12 clubs across 3 time zones in order to maintain its D2 sanction. There are only 8 this year, but the NASL has handed a lifeline. They were handed a lifeline last winter after losing a team to MLS and 2 to USL. They got 2 teams out of California, and there's more ongoing, and the U.S. Soccer basically figured, okay, there's no way with all this moving and shaking that they're going to have 12 teams, so we're going to go ahead and remove your D2 status, especially with, North Carolina FC is still in the running for being one of those MLS teams, even though they kind of seem rather unlikely compared to, say, Cincinnati or Phoenix or whatever, some of the other teams that have been more talked about. I'm not going to talk about that one city because we're going to get Erik getting all pissed. But, Nashville is also in there. And
I'm remaining as calm as I possibly can.
Basically, the NASL seeking an injunction here that would make it to where they'd have their D2 status next year, and so they could fight against other standards, like the standards that govern stadium, market size, owner investment, net worth, facilities, and other things. And they also believe there's a conspiracy between U.S. Soccer, MLS, and USL to make sure that, the NASL doesn't keep growing. The NASL basically says that they claim USSF has violated the federal antitrust laws through its anti-competitive division structure that divides men's professional soccer for U.S.-based leagues based on arbitrary criteria that the USSF has manipulated to favor Major League Soccer, which is the commercial business partner of USSF.
What the hell? Where is this coming from? I mean, does the NASL really want to put all of us through the kind of crap that they had a few years ago, where essentially for a single season, the NASL and USL merged to form the USSF D2 League? Does anybody remember that?
I don't, but they might have to do that again.
No. None of the pods, none of the scheduling, none of that crap. No. NASL, you had every opportunity in the book. Guess what? You're going to have more clubs leave. Now that Miami Beckham United is finally off of the ground, do you really think you're going to keep Miami FC? With the Canadian Premier League, you really think that FC Edmonton is really going to stick around?
Yeah, they're already thinking Edmonton's going to leave. Indy 11 is obviously one of the teams that's being talked about for MLS, but they're a really outside shot. And even then, Indy 11's thinking about leaving too and going to USL.
So
So
basically, the NASL is going to have potentially a 6-team league.
yeah,
6. And you had issues with lawsuits with Fort Lauderdale. You had issues with Tampa Bay. You had to take over the Armada until they thankfully got a new owner. But since then, while they've been great on the pitch, I went to University of North Florida. I've been to Hodges Stadium. It's great, but it's not even the best environment for a D2 team. I'm sorry.
yeah. I mean, I get that the NASL feels threatened here, and they have every right to feel threatened, obviously. But
But they did this to themselves.
yeah, they've had the time to find this. And, yeah, you have it where MLS has come and taken teams, but such is the structure, right? It's not like somebody came, okay, and just sprung this on you. You've known for years now that
Mm-hmm.
this is what you're supposed to do.
And
And
it's not even like teams have been poached. Because that's really what the NASL is saying. No, they haven't been poached. These teams stepped their game up, made themselves a presence, and then instead of trying to keep your league afloat, they went on to greener pastures, and it's working out well, at least preliminarily.
I'm reading this from somebody that's rather credible here that I listen to every week. Much of the NASL lawsuit reads like ideological rants of someone on Reddit. They've loaded up the document, some valid and some crazy.
Oh god, as if we don't have enough crazy running around in charge. We gotta deal with this too?
Yeah, most of it's based on like assumptions or just feelings that some of the owners have. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and teams getting butt hurt because their deals weren't accepted.
I just don't. I don't understand. Where look, I totally get what they're mad at, right? They don't want. Uh, they don't want to lose their status, but with the USL also planning to launch their own D3 league in
Mm-hmm.
2019, things are going to get harder and harder. And
Not
honestly,
to
if you're MLS, and not just MLS, if you're a USSF, as great as it is to have all these other D3s and D2s, and there's a reason why the FA has their system
mm-hmm.
where like 1 to 4, 1 to 5, it's one league. It's not 3 leagues in D2 and 2 leagues in D3 and whatever. It's one league, and then you all just get into that league. And I
Yeah,
get
if I remember right, they consider football league from 1 to 4. So going from the Premier League down to Sky Bet League 2.
yeah, and then you have the PDL or whatever.
Yeah, and then from there, it's like you have Conference National, then Conference North and South, then farther on down to the Sunday leagues. And with us, I completely agree. MLS, USL, and even then, how is this D3 competition going to play out between the USL D3 and the NISA? Which, as my friend mentioned, and she's absolutely right, that sounds more like a federal agency than a soccer league. I
The
need to be scrolling
NISA,
down
yeah,
the
really it
the
does.
badge. Oh.
But it's just like this feels like the owner's just covering for their mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, oh, we made a bunch of mistakes. Let's sue USSF so we can not have to say that we did something wrong.
and it's going to fail miserably. We might be seeing the end of the NASL. If it doesn't survive 2018, that would be a miracle. But I think after this, it's done. And you know what I would do if I'm MLS just to spite them? And I really think this is where they dropped the ball in 96. Why did they not buy the rights and have their title game as the Soccer Bowl?
I don't know. Isn't that what they used to call their?
Yeah, the NASL, way back, the original NASL of the 70s, up until 81, because 82 it was a best of 3 series. Yes, things were that bad. They used Soccer Bowl, and they kept the rights even though the league went dormant. That's why the New York Cosmos were able to start up again so easily. MLS, when they formed in 96, and they knew they had to form going back to being awarded the 94 World Cup by FIFA, I'm MLS, I'm like, say, hey, you're not using this. We'll scratch off a couple $100,000. This is going to be our title game.
Yeah, so I'm going to read this thing here from it. This is completely disingenuous from the NASL. NASL has been granted Division II status for the last 7 seasons and has required waivers in each of those 7 seasons. These waivers have been granted by the USSF time and again and have included at various times NASL not having the correct number of teams to be sanctioned, Division II league or enough US-based teams, or being in the required 3 time zones with its US-based teams. Second, European clubs are subject to the standards similar to USSF's divisional standards, that ones that apply to those nations. For example, clubs in the English Championship and Premier League are required to have certain size stadiums, and coaches are required to have UEFA Pro licenses. We see this all the time. There's certain playoff teams that even if they qualify, they have to make sure that they meet the requirements, or they have to give the playoff, they have to give it to the runner-up or whoever because they don't meet those requirements. And that's from World Soccer Talk, by the way, to give them credit. But it's amazing to me that we're forgetting that you have benefited from USSF helping you, and yet you're going to go sue them. Like,
absolutely. And it's not even just Europe. Even when Japan, they started their J2, and they were like still scrambling around and finally got together a 3rd division. What did they have? Standards. Any country you go to with the league system, Christ, even Gibraltar, they have standards for their leagues. Gibraltar, really?
to even know teams that are playing in Gibraltar?
I used to know one. And it was like super dominant, but I forgot now. But yeah, they actually have 2 divisions. I think their top division has 10 teams, and that was part of a UEFA requirement.
Yeah, that's crazy. But this is just the NASL not realizing that they did this to themselves, and now they're just trying to find a.
This is the NWSL thinking that they're bigger than they are. And again, Don, you'll pull off this one move. I will even be willing to let you have Nashville FC at MLS. But to do that, one of 2 things has to happen. Number 1, Vanderbilt's got to win the SEC East.
Oh my God, here we go again with this. That has nothing to do with whether or not.
Or, and see, Sean, I'm even giving you an out. When the NASL goes bye-bye, not if, but when.
The NASL should have had a team in Cincinnati. That's their fault.
Well, of course, they should have had a team in Cincinnati, but they focused on having teams in Puerto Rico and Bermuda. Nothing
Stupid.
against those two countries. Beautiful countries, awesome people. I hope and pray that everybody stays safe in Puerto Rico from Hurricane Maria, because after hurricane season comes and you rebuild, you should expect the squid to make an appearance to come down there and party. But before I reveal any of my shenanigans there, they did everything completely wrong. And Don, if Vanderbilt doesn't win the SEC East, I will gladly accept Nashville FC as an MLS club if you buy the rights and rename your championship game the Soccer Bowl. I will welcome them with open arms, paint my face, tweet out myself wearing their scarf and everything, and you can hold me to that.
I think they just don't want to have that too close of a thing with for one, they'd be taking from NASL, and I think everybody knows that. Secondly, they don't want they want it to be called their own thing, and I think that's fine.
I still say they dropped the ball in 96. It worked then, it could work now. Just saying, Don, just throwing that out there. Again, if you want me to stop about Nashville FC, I'm giving you a much easier option. Not my fault.
Yeah, and it's just the sad thing too is that the NASL, they can't even prove anything because they've had, other than Miami FC, the last time they've had expansion teams, they all fail.
Yes.
And San Francisco right now is like the owners sit there begging you to take friends to the stadium and all that stuff. It's just like, good Lord, stop it.
Yeah. The Armada actually had better crowds playing at a baseball field downtown. They were able to draw 7,000 to 10,000. Now that they're at Hodges Stadium, their average attendance is in the 3s.
Wow.
And you even hit the nail on the head as far as with the number of clubs. I think they've reached 12 and above once, maybe twice.
Yeah,
they've never been able to really do it right. They never have.
The only thing they can prove is that USSF is benefiting from MLS, right? But they're also benefiting from USSF. So it's like, it's not like USSF has never done you any favors. And they cannot prove that USSF has done anything for USL, really, because apparently also, according to World Soccer Talk, they took the USL, one of the USL owners, off the Board of Governors to put on the North Carolina FC owner, Stephen Mollick or whatever, to benefit, once again, NASL. So,
and again, you don't think that the same things have happened in the USL? I remember watching Sounders and Whitecaps games when they were both USL League squads and USL First Division teams. I watched the Montreal on the days of Zé Roberto, or the Charleston Battery, the Virginia Beach Mariners and their funky uniforms. NASL, for God's sake, stop it. Just stop it.
Let's move on from NASL here and go back to talking about MLS for a second. Minnesota United have hired their first CEO, Chris Wright, who's recently the president of the NBA's Minnesota Timberwolves and the WNBA's Minnesota Lynx for the last 13 seasons. He will officially begin working with them on October 6th. He is actually from England. So, that's good.
It's good, and it's a mixed bag of success. I mean, the Timberwolves have made a little bit of noise, but Minnesota Lynx now in the WNBA Finals again. So, yeah, hey there, big-time deal United's going to be.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, he's talking about he's excited about the building the stadium, the Allianz Field, and just basically doing everything they can to make Minnesota United great. So if they can do that, that's good. You want to see positive things for the expansion teams that come into the league, pretty much.
I'm
The
I'm curious. Allianz Field, is that going to be on the site of the old Homer Dome?
I don't think they know where that is. It's going to be at yet. Remember, they're still looking for sites.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I'm trying to remember what Minnesota did with that site once they blew up the Homer Dome. Huh?
Don't know yet.
Hmm.
But keeping with that vibe, Jay Heaps becomes the 5th manager this season to be let go by an MLS club. Jay Heaps had been with the team since 2011. So he's been with them for a long time. And, you can say it's Robert Kraft or whatever you want to say, but he kept him there for a while. I mean,
Yeah, because now Robert Kraft has to fake the funk like he actually cares about the revolution.
he took him to of course, that 2014 MLS Cup run, and they lost, which I think they're still trying to live off of that with a lot of their core being from that team, and they let some of those guys that were actually key parts go. Jermaine Jones never was the same player anymore. Then he got shipped off, and a lot of the guys that they had to bring in after Jones just never stayed healthy either. So that didn't help. And this season, I think they lost a lot more than they should have. But
Sean, 7-0.
no,
7.
7. Okay, 7-0. But I'm talking about games. I'm not talking about by the score. I'm talking about they
No, I
lost.
understand that, but I'm saying, look at what happens to teams traditionally right after you lose 7-0. That is rock bottom.
Well, it's not just that. They haven't won a game at all on the road this season either. And that's probably going to continue because they have one of the hardest schedules the rest of the way. And yeah, so they're probably going to end the whole season without winning a road game, which
That would be a first.
that's not good. And it's just, again, they haven't really brought in guys from the academy. They haven't brought in guys from the draft. They're having to just try to find the next signing to fill in a hole while we're still relying on this core, which is still relatively young. Your Kellen Rowe, Lee Wynn, all that. They're still great talents, great players, but they didn't adapt once the league caught up to them. And that's an issue, and that's why you need to bring in a different coach, and hopefully whoever you bring in now works out for New England and then changes things around there, perhaps. Anything else you want to add on? They've been just, they'll have this one great game and then they'll have a bunch of stinkers after that. I
Again,
mean,
7-0. Sorry, those things are not easy to flush from people's memories.
oh no, they're not. They're not. I'm sure if you tell Robert Kraft, oh, we got the Patriots back on track. What are the Revs doing? Losing 7-0. What? Yeah, he's out. So
He's like, time for me to care about them too now. Yeah, this ain't working.
and I think it shows a lot about the league too, right? It's grown to the point where people are expecting more out of your teams. And
Exactly. People aren't running around earning gray hairs from cornerstone franchises that they grew up rooting for. Ben.
that's on the ownership group. That's not on Ben. But anyway, to finish off on the last two MLS things here, Andre Blake apparently could have gone to the EPL this season, but because Jamaica's FIFA ranking is not in 50 or above, they do not get any player trying to go to the EPL. They don't get a work permit.
Womp, womp, womp.
So Andre Blake had to stay with Philadelphia, and Kamar Lawrence as well. He was getting interest from Brighton and Crystal Palace.
How far away is Jamaica? Aren't they like in the 60s?
They're 61.
Okay, so I mean, 11. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean they got to do well in these and the friendlies, and then when you have official competitions, they got to keep doing what they've been doing, just getting higher up in those Gold Cups and World Cup qualifying. You got to last longer, you know.
Yeah, they probably don't necessarily have to make the hex. Although then again,
I mean, it would really help you if you did.
yeah, tremendously.
Probably the bigger headline here is that the MLS is considering changing, and this is from Sam Stetskel over at 442. He writes great stuff over there. I should mention, if you don't read his stuff, you should. Apparently, starting next year and beyond, there are talks going on of changing the MLS playoffs into, it's no longer having the two-leggeds after the initial playoff round. You would eliminate those and have every round be a one game hosted by the higher seed, which would then get a home game, obviously, for being a higher seed. And it would make the regular season matter a little bit more, because then, if you have a higher record, then that would mean that you're going to get your home game. This would also mean that the entire postseason, going from October 25th to December 9th, would be completed in 3 weeks, so that you don't have the November FIFA break, and then you have half the playoffs happening after that break. Now you have all the playoffs basically ending after the break. You have the season ends, the break happens, and then the whole playoffs.
It would still actually be 4 weeks under the current format.
Right, but under the format that they want to use.
No, that's what I'm saying. Under the format that they want to use, it would still be 4 weeks.
Why?
Knockout round or wild card round.
The wild card round wouldn't be a week. Usually that's like a couple of days after the season ends.
Right.
And then,
yeah, because if you had, that would be the only. Ooh. It would give a greater advantage to the teams of the top two that have a bye, because they would have a full week. Because
right, but that's the point, though. You don't really want to be a wild card team.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens in baseball, right? You got to play the wild card game, and the next day or the day after, you're already playing the series.
Yeah, which can I also say, and I'm going to save this rant for when I cover baseball on Point of Viewer. MLB, Rob, Jesus Christ, fix that. You did it right and wrong simultaneously. I got an idea. You especially need to tune in, Commissioner Rob Manfred. Don, I'll get to you on this later. I actually approve.
Yeah, I'd like to see this too, just because I'm not a big fan of the two-legged things. I get it. It takes away money from the other team not getting that home game. And that's probably why this isn't going to happen, because the owners aren't going to just want to not have a home game in the playoffs, because they lose about $1 million.
Well,
But
go ahead.
But I will say, since they've adopted this format, the lower seeds have won 8 out of 12 conference championship series, and that's kind of hurtful to the people that try in the regular season to get those higher seeds, and then they don't really get a benefit out of that.
And I'm actually going to counter with something. Number one, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, because I've never seen it come up, with the two-legged aggregates, they don't use away goals.
Yes, they do.
They do.
I
Well,
thought they did. I thought they changed that after a while. Maybe they
yeah,
don't.
I've never encountered that.
I thought they changed that after the last couple of years. They did the away goals. Maybe that
Again,
was in Champions League, and I'm thinking they did it in both. But I swear that they changed that.
Because if they did, and if that's the system, then that's forgivable. But you also have to counter this. Expansion. As MLS expands, let's face it, they're not going to keep a 12-team playoff format.
Yeah, they're probably going to make it 16.
And even then,
28 would be 14.
Okay, and even at 14, you would have to push the playoffs to a fourth week.
Well, they'll address that when that time comes, obviously.
Well, yes, because you're not going to have these.
I don't think the playoffs being a fourth week is the problem. What they want to do is make it to where you don't have the international break in between the two. Like play all the way up to the conference semifinals or whatever, first leg. Then you're taking 2 weeks, then you're coming back to play the conference semifinal second leg, then the conference championship, and then the final. They want it all to happen at once.
Yeah, and I agree. And what I'm saying is, especially depending on the timing of the November international break, when you expand to a 14-team playoff, you can't do it like end of the regular season, then your midweek knockout round matches, then your first legs of your conference semifinals. Because under the 14-team format, only the top teams in each conference would have that bye. So to give a more fair advantage, you would have to have each round being 1 week. And again, less of a problem, but that's easier as far as fixing timing when you do that.
It's true.
So basically, the fact that MLS is going to go to 28 clubs and probably not.
Since 2014, the away goals rule has been used.
Okay, see, and again, why has that not even really been emphasized? I wouldn't really know that.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I swear that came up in the last couple of these seasons. In fact, I think that's how Dallas got eliminated one time, and I was like, oh crap, that's weird. I know they didn't use that before, but yeah, I mean, I would welcome this if they did it.
So would I.
I like seeing that. I hate the whole let's play 2 games. It's one game. You set out your strategy for that one game, and if you blow them out, you blow them out. If they all wind up 0-0s and you go to overtime or you go to penalties or whatever, and I wouldn't be opposed to doing what you see now in a lot of these tournaments is penalties until you get to the final and then do extra time.
I honestly think that would be better. If you're not going to reintroduce the old NASL style shootout, do that.
Well, I remember MLS did shootouts too.
And they were glorious. I get why they got rid of them, but can you at least think about bringing them back, Don? Kick it old school.
Yeah, I think they'd obviously consider it, but it does make it a little bit arbitrary. You kind of want to have things where you can, I guess, feel like you understand the outcome more, and not just, oh, well, I got to make sure I do this run up and see if I can get the goalie to move. And I'm good with the penalty kicks. I'm good. In hockey, I think it's very entertaining, and it uses the skating and all that. And the last thing we're going to talk about here, it relates to NWSL, and it's interesting. Kind of stinks we don't have Rachel here for this, but we've been talking about what is Cindy LaRue going to do? Is she going to wind up going to Orlando with her husband? And good thing for Dom Dwyer that he's been scoring goals, so it looks like he will be
About damn time.
much more accepted over there in Orlando now. But now rumors are coming out that apparently FC Kansas City might be the next Western New York Flash, where they are bought out by a new ownership group and relocated. Because, the league hasn't been talking about expansion, and rightfully so. They still need to figure out, make sure that all the teams are profitable, or that they're doing things per the league policy. And this is what could be happening. They could be relocated this offseason. Apparently, there's concerns that there's been subpar conditions and absenteeism from current ownership. That apparently he has not been able to meet league minimum standards in certain cases, including not traveling with 18 players. And the training facilities haven't been always good. They've been sometimes the salaries at below the league minimum, which you're not supposed to do either. So,
Well, if they do relocate, may I suggest Missoula, Montana?
What?
You heard me. Missoula, Montana.
What soccer teams are going on in freaking Montana?
Hey. I will worry about those logistics later.
Yeah.
And to accept it any transition, if Missoula decides to be the city, I would gladly go over and accept a position as part of the team staff.
Well, there gave you a way he could benefit himself there, but
Hey, you know why? It's reasons.
hey, you know what? North Carolina Courage have proved that you can relocate and do well. I think it all depends, on where you get relocated to.
Exactly, and Montana has beautiful weather during the soccer season.
God.
What?
Really?
Yes?
Again, I need you to find me a league that's happening in Montana before we say this, but I like your enthusiasm here for wanting to relocate them to Montana. Are you sure you don't have a vested interest in this?
Look, I will neither confirm nor deny any conversations about any personal reasons and fringe benefits of how having a team in Missoula, Montana will help me.
So you really want to go live in Montana? Is that what you're saying?
Look, if there are things that happen, there are people who know people who know people. But again, that is not the issue at hand here. I think the NWSL would benefit from making a great jump in what could be a lovely untapped market.
At least you could avoid the hurricanes. So there's that one plus there for you, Erik. I think honestly, now you wonder, is this going to make it to where, Silly LaRue could move much easier, because you'd have to wonder if they might unload some players to make room for this changing of the guard and the ownership, and also in moving the team somewhere else. Just have to see. We don't even know who the ownership is that's supposed to take over from the current owner, whose name is Elam Bear, and he
Whoa.
owns
Huh?
Elam Bear, like Bear, that commercial that used to come on all the. Oh, that's BASF. No, Bear. I forgot what Bear makes, some kind of company. It's something that I can't remember.
As the Bear Paint Company?
Yes, Bear. That Bear. Yes. I don't think that he has anything to do with the paint company. I think that's just his last name. But
What the hell can... Okay.
somebody wanted to name. He is apparently he's the CEO of Minneapolis-based North Central Equity LLC. Kept the team in Kansas City, but he runs the team remotely.
What kind of vague... Wow. Sorry, but that just screams shadiness to me.
Yeah, that's over. It's a lot of shadiness going on, and just
North Central Equity LLC? Did you just put in hey, corporate word salad, give me a business name, why don't you? Did you go on some online name generator? Oh,
maybe he did. We don't know. But there's also still the possibility that Sporting Kansas City could become the fourth MLS squad to try to take ownership in the NWSL team. This one's sort of not likely to happen, but could still.
Yeah, because, again, everybody gave them flack about taking the name Sporting because that means you've got to own some sort of other team. They couldn't work it out with the Kansas City Blues, a fine rugby squad, so I don't know if they're going to try to reach their hand out here.
Maybe. I just want to see FC Kansas City do well, and I don't want to see the league lose any teams. So.
Of course not. And they can do perfectly well in Montana. If not Missoula, Helena, Billings, Bozeman.
You keep
Plenty of
going on that trend. I mean, it's not going to go well. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow to talk Galaxy. Oh, jeez, I'm not doing this twice. I'm going to find out who the damn Galaxy are playing because this is stupid for me to end this show. And I'm going to say this again, and I'm not going to know who the heck. The Galaxy are playing Atlanta, by the way. So it's Atlanta at home at Mercedes-Benz against the Galaxy. Talk about a win. Toronto's playing Montreal to basically kill Montreal's playoff hopes, pretty much. Their Montreal's playoff hopes are already on like life support, but Toronto is hoping to just kill them dead. And then Sporting KC. And after Atlanta and Galaxy go off on ESPN2, the US Open Cup final will be played on ESPN2. Sporting KC, New York Red Bull. New York Red Bull have never won the Open Cup. Sporting KC hoping to add to their trophy list of the Open Cup. And yeah, we'll be back to break it down, and I don't know what else is going to happen in the day, but we'll see. Maybe something will happen in the NASL situation or whatever. And then, of course...
Or maybe Atlanta gets a big win and everybody still raves about the fact that Atlanta United fans can enjoy Chick-fil-A and some exceptionally cheap concession prices.
That too. And there is a triple header on Sunday, by the way. Atlanta also is in the middle of that, taking on Montreal at home again. I did mention that they have a ton of games at home, and they're also... Oh, there's a full slate of games on Wednesday, too. Next Wednesday. What? What did you say?
6 of 8 for Atlanta United, if I remember correctly.
Hey, that's what's so nice when you're building a stadium, right?
Exactly. Oh, that made that Orlando draw that much more exciting. And Don, these Wednesday games, I'm telling you, Don, I'm running out of patience here. I'm giving you options to make all of this go away and for me to be very happy clappy. Just
Get
saying.
re- get ready for a full slate of games on Wednesday, by the way.
Don, really?
Next Wednesday, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Montreal, NYC, New York Red Bulls, DC, Orlando, New England, FC Dallas, Colorado, Houston Galaxy, starting from 7 p.m. Then you continue San Jose, Chicago, Seattle, Vancouver, both at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, I don't know. That might be one of those we're doing the show on Thursday because that means we're not starting the show till 1 o'clock in the morning. Oh no, we can't do a show on Thursday anymore. Fuck. So
Let's play. How long can the squid stay sober?
1 a.m. in the morning. That's what we're going to be doing. A show is what's going to be happening. But
Exactly. With your host, Sean Garmer, Erik Watkins, and special guest, Lemon Moscato.
and whatever other beer I probably drank by then. So yeah, so I mean, lots of MLS coming at you pretty fast here if you are a big fan of the league. It's happening, and then don't forget NWSL. They're about to hit the playoffs. They got
2
2
match
weeks
days
left.
left.
2 weeks left, and then they are in the playoffs. So that should be loads of fun if you're an American soccer enthusiast. So yeah, until we are here on, hopefully have a Sunday show this week. Until then, hopefully you enjoyed what you heard here. If you did, hit that subscribe button. You get everything that we do. We try to do 2 shows a week, one on Wednesday nights, Thursday morning, one on Sundays, talking MLS, NWSL, and whatever news is going on this side of the border with U.S. men's national team, U.S. women's national team. Of course, we just did our talk about the U.S. men's national team game against New Zealand. They're facing 2 games against South Korea next in October. And then, of course, the U.S. men's national team, not too far off. We're going to be talking about their last 2 games that decide if they're getting to the World Cup. And, of course, MLS doesn't give a crap because they have games before that game and games after that game, the day after, and the day after the game against TNT as well.
Oh.
MLS, they don't give a shit. Just,
Don, I hope you're taking my soccer bowl suggestion seriously, Don. I don't want to have to make a flight.
you keep saying that. I want you to make this flight
Hey, we
and
start
go
up a
talk to
GoFundMe
Don.
to get me a plane ticket. We'll see what happens.
We need to, y'all tweet at Squid Sports Head. Get him that GoFundMe. Get him going over to see Don, his favorite person.
Yay, I will put this out to the fans. Anybody that contributes to this GoFundMe and get me a plane ticket, I will live stream on Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, whatever app I could possibly think of to get this meeting.
What, you talking to Don?
Yes.
What if Don doesn't want it streamed?
I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
All right. Thank you for listening, everyone. We will see you on Sunday night. Until then, see you later.
Peace.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.